Hi ladies, Coach Hill. Hope you're having a good weekend. I'm joining you via video because last week we missed 2 practices, which means we're a little behind. Now the good thing is nobody practiced. The first practice we missed because of the rain, and then the second practice because of the fire. And there were going to be some important concepts that we were going to talk about. So I'm going to cover those in this video so that we can get caught up with the strategies that we're going to be utilizing for our first game. Today we're going to talk about how we're going to have our formations, how we're going to line up, the different positions that people could play, and some final ideas as we prepare for 2 practices to go before our first game, which will be the Tuesday after the holiday weekend. Alright? So first, let's talk about our formation and how we're going to line up when we're on the field. Let's go right to it. Okay everybody, let's talk about how we're going to line up and organize ourselves on the field. Now first of all, the field itself. The field is 40 yards wide and 80 yards long. 80 yards. That's a long ways. How many players? Well, for those of you that played last year or the year before, there's more players now. For those of you that haven't played before, there's going to be 7 players on the field. That includes a goalkeeper. So, a goalkeeper plus 6. But how are we going to line ourselves up? How are we going to organize ourselves? There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, and a lot of different strategies. And a coach has to take into consideration the talents and the skills of the various players. Having now evaluated most of you, I think the format, or the way we're going to organize ourselves on the field, the formation, the best for us is going to be what we call a 1-3-2. So 2-3-1. We're going to have a goalie. We're going to have what we call a sweeper. Midfielders. These are the midfielders. Oh, mid. Coach Hill doesn't know how to spell. Midfielders and our forwards or strikers. Strikers. So I want to go through each position one by one. First of all, the goalie. Now obviously the goalie can use their hands. And in the coming 2 practices we're going to talk more about the goalie and what they need to do. And the skills that they need to have. All of you will eventually at some point play goalie in a game. Now let's talk about the sweeper. He's also, or she's also known as a defense person. Their primary responsibility is to support the goalie and be the last line of defense. But they have some other responsibilities as well. They've got to be someone who is tough and strong. Not only physically, but mentally. They've got to be fast. Because they are the last line of defense, they've got to know strategies. And they've got to be able to take on all things. This is a key player, the sweeper. Then you have the midfielders. Now you notice already, I think, that we've already set up what? Our passing triangles. Look at all of the triangles that we've set up. Right? A lot of triangles. And we want to make sure that we have good passing angles as we've talked about. Well, what does that have to do with the midfielders, Coach? The midfielders have to be 1, great passers. 2, in shape and fit, because they got a lot of running to do. 3, they have to pass first and look to shoot second. So these midfielders are key. This position here, here, and here. Those midfielders play both offense and defense. And they're up and down the field quite a bit. They're the backbone of the team. Okay, how about the strikers or the forwards? Well, as their name implies, they're going to be doing a lot of attacking. They're going to be coming down the field. And they're going to be the first line of attack. Now, what are some of their attributes? Well, they've got to be accurate in their shooting and passing. They've got to be fast, have some speed, so that when these midfielders make a long pass, they can run to it. They've got to be tough. They've got to be strong enough to outmaneuver those defenders. And then finally, they've got to be good individual ball handlers. Good individual ball handlers. So that is the formation that we're going to use. The 2-3-1 and then the goalie. the 2-3-1, and then the goalie. I feel like it gives us the best angles for passing. Now let's go a little bit more in depth into this formation. So now let's talk about how the 2-3-1 approach can really work for us. As I mentioned to you, we have these strikers. And then, let me redraw those. We have the strikers. Then we have the midfielders. Then we have our defense person. And of course, our goalie. You notice, as I mentioned earlier, we have some nice triangles for passing. And we have great support. As the ball advances down the field, these strikers are holding their lanes. Our outside midfielders are filling here and here. And then we have our center back, or our center fielder, moving up here. And as you can see, we're keeping these good passing angles. Good passing angles. And angles of support. Yeah, but what about the defense person? Does the defense person just come and wait here? Or can they come up on the attack? For now, we want the defense person to stay at about midfield, supporting the other 5. That way, if the ball was lost and we headed back the other way, we have a defense person. Now, what about the midfielders? As the midfielders advance, let me erase this. As our midfielders advance, and our strikers are in position, these midfielders, the left midfield and the right midfield, have to be ready to run here and here, these lanes. Why? Because they've got to get back and support on defense as well. And be able to support the wings on offense. Now, if we do this right, we're going to have plenty of pressure to put on the defense and great passing angles amongst us. We should always be able to be in support. Now, as I've told you before, it's a thinking person's game. It's a creative person's game. So even though we have these angles and we have these positions, we're always moving to the open spot. We're always looking for the open spot to move to be available for a pass. So just because I'm here and that person's there, this person may have to move back a little bit. And then I might have to fill the spot to take the pass. On the other hand, this person who's here, the striker, they may have to float out to the outside and I might find myself here. That's okay. This is just how we begin and the lanes and positions we'd like to be in to create the best passing angles. Here's the bottom line. The bottom line is we have 2 people that are going to be playing the striker position. The bottom line is we have 3 people that will be playing the midfield. By doing that, we give ourselves great passing triangles. Great passing triangles. Okay? We give ourselves great opportunity for passing. And then we have our defenseman here. Now, there's nothing to say that this midfielder doesn't end up right in the middle. Again, because we have good passing triangles. And that these people are filling the corners. But everybody is getting back on defense. Everybody is making sure that they're supporting the defense person, including the strikers. So one thing I don't want to see is people who just stay at midfield waiting for offense. Everybody gets back and supports on defense. So this is practically the things that we'll be working on this week in practice. Putting a lot of time into the passing angles and a lot of time into the offense. All right? Now let's talk about some key concepts as we get ready to play a game. Okay, so that was one way that we'll organize ourselves. But there'll be other ways that we'll organize ourselves throughout the year. We might use a 3-2-1. Or we might use a 3-2-1. In other words, 3 defense people, 2 midfielders, and a striker. There's a lot of different ways that we can configure ourselves to begin with. But what's really important is that we utilize the principles that we've been talking about. Looking for an open space, everybody making sure that they run the field, and creating that spacing necessary so that we can take advantage of great passing. Because as I've told you many times, the ball can travel faster than a person ever can. So how about getting ready for the game? Well, we only have 2 practices. So in those 2 practices, I've got to get you up to speed on all the various rules, and I've got to get you ready to play in a game. So here's a couple of tips as we get ready for the game in just a week. First of all, on game night, the night before a game, you got to have a great night's sleep. You got to have a great night's sleep. You got to make sure that you go to bed and you're well rested. And you want to make sure you have a great meal. When you go to bed, I know I used to always teach all of my athletes to start seeing themselves being successful. So when you're laying at bed at night, just see yourself doing well. What do you mean, see myself, coach? I don't understand. Yeah, see it. See yourself kicking the ball well. Seeing yourself moving back on defense. See yourself score a goal. Athletes call it visualization. But the simplicity of it is you just see yourself doing it well. Did you know that your muscles don't know when your mind is doing that and actually doing it? That's right, you can train while you're laying in bed at night. It's called visualization. So, that night before you're getting a good night's sleep. Right before you go to sleep, you're seeing yourself doing extremely well. The day of the game. Well, first of all, you're going to do great at school. You're going to have an awesome day at school. You're going to focus on your studies. And then once the school day is over, you're going to go home and get yourself rested. Now, we're all going to show up at least a half hour, a minimum of a half hour before the game. Why is that? Well, first of all, to ensure that we're all on time. Every one of you has talent, every one of you has ability, and every one of you has something to offer. And we're not a complete team without you. So we want everyone there at least a half hour early. If that's a challenge for you and your family, let me know, and maybe we can make some arrangements to assist. When we get there a half hour early, what are we going to do? We're going to go through our warm-ups like we always do. You mean all those drills we do at the beginning? Yeah. See, there's a reason why I've had you do the drills over and over and over again. Because number one, it helps you get your body warmed up and prepared to play. But number two, it gives you a routine. You see, one of the ways to deal with the nervousness that comes with the game, or even the fear sometimes that comes with the game, is to do the same routine over and over and over again. So the routine that we've been doing at the beginning of practice, where we do our marching and we do our high knees and all of those little drills that we do, are the same drills that we'll do before the game begins, because we're in a routine. You don't even have to think about it. We've done it so many times. What about when the game starts? So next week I'll be assigning positions. I'll be assigning who's going to begin the game. Now in AYSO, everybody's going to play at least half the game. But there'll be some people that will start the game and others who will come in the game when there's a break. But everyone will play at least a half. Now I'll tell you next week what positions you're going to be playing initially, because you're going to eventually play all positions, and who's going to begin the game. In addition, next week I'm going to talk to you about the key strategies of each position. We've already started to talk a little bit about that today. What about in the game itself? Well, that's pretty simple. Just give your best. That's all that you need to do, is just give your best. That's it. You don't have to worry about winning and losing. You don't have to worry about making mistakes. You'll never get in trouble, ever, if you're giving your best. The only time that I'll take you aside and maybe mention to you or suggest to you something is when I feel like you're not giving your best. This is about you having fun, this is about you learning how to play the game, and it's about you giving your best. If we all give our best in our first game, or in any game, and the score doesn't reflect us winning, that's fine, because we gave our best. But know this, know that if our score reflects that we won the game, but we all didn't give our best, I'm not going to be satisfied, and I bet you won't be either. This is about giving our best. So those are some tips that you can utilize to prepare for the game. I'll be sending home a sheet in our last practice next week to help your parents as well, so that they can prepare for the game. All right, now let's go to some last tidbits of some things that you can be doing this week. Okay, ladies, a final thought. First of all, we've got a lot to do this week in the 2 practices that we have left. So come ready to practice, come ready to focus, and come ready to learn. because I know you're going to do extremely, extremely well. And then finally, a thought that I'd like you to consider this week. It's a poem. It's a poem that I used to use with athletes that I coached a long, long time ago. And the poem goes like this. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win, but think you can't, it's almost a cinch that you won't. Think big and your deeds will grow. Think small and you'll fall behind. Think that you can and you will. It's all in the state of mind. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later the one who wins is the one who thinks he can. What's the point of the poem? The point of the poem is as we get ready for our first game, remember this, it's not how fast a person is. It's not how strong they are. It's not how well they kick the ball. A lot of times it's what's right in here and what's right in here. The state of their mind and the state of their heart. Every one of you has talent. Every one of you has ability. Every one of you has already proven that you have something to offer the team. The key to our success is that each one of you offering it to the best of your ability. If we'll do that, we'll be successful. Now, I don't know if we'll win. I can't guarantee you that we'll win, and I'm not really worried about that. I'm worried about you giving your best. So, remember, if you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win but think you can't, it's almost a cinch that you won't. Think big and your deeds will grow. Think small and you'll fall behind. Think that you can and you will. It's all in the state of your mind. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later the one who wins is the one who thinks they can. Who's that? That's you. It's been a joy to work with you. It really is. It's a joy to come to practice. You inspire me to do my best in my work every day. So I thank you for your hard work. Make sure you think about some of these concepts, the way we're going to organize ourselves, some of the things that you can be doing in between our practices, and come ready to go at 5:45 on Tuesday afternoon. Take care, everybody.